A Texas county tonight is threatening to figuratively blow up its entire public library system rather than bring back a bunch of banned books like a judge ordered them to do with a librarian who quit after getting harassed, telling our team exclusively about the attacks she faced personally. This is happening in Llano County, Texas, right outside Austin, in a kind of culture war fight over about a dozen books, including kids' books. In the Night Kitchen, I should say, by Maurice Sendak. Larry the Farting Leprechaun. There are books on racism and history, like they called themselves the KKK, the birth of an American terrorist group. A federal judge said it was unconstitutional to ban them and that these books needed to be put back into circulation. So tomorrow, the county's commissioners are holding a special meeting to decide whether to shut down their libraries altogether and fire the librarians. Not everybody in Llano is happy about that. And some of the locals who originally sued the county over the book bans are planning to show up tomorrow at that meeting. Here's what that former librarian tells us about tomorrow's vote.
Cartoon butts and farts are not pornography. LGBTQ issues, race, classism, those are things that these children are going to encounter out in the real world. And why not encounter those in a book?
Aaron Gilchrist is joining us now here in our Washington studio with more. It's good to see you, Aaron. So walk us through how we got to this point where this county seems to be basically saying, well, if you can't ban the book, get rid of the whole library.
Yeah, it's going to be a packed house on both sides of this issue at that meeting tomorrow night. So this basically started back in December of 2021 when the county decided that they were going to dissolve the library board. They put an advisory group in place of that board and then took about a dozen or so books out of circulation. You had a group of citizens, library card holders, who said, no, we can't stand for this. They filed a federal lawsuit. They said, you know, this is a free speech violation. This is a 14th Amendment due process violation because there was no notice that these books were being taken out of circulation. And they said they were really targeted because of the content in these particular books. The judge just last month issued an injunction that said, yeah, we don't think this is going to hold up against constitutional muster, so put these books back in circulation. They did that for the most part with most of these books at the end of March. Fast forward to the last few days here, and you had somebody at a meeting, a county meeting, who said, you know what? If we can't keep these books off the shelves, just close the libraries altogether.
See ya. Right.
And so that's where we get to the meeting that's coming up tomorrow to see if that happens.
Is it going to pass? What do we think? I mean, do you think they're really going to shut down the library system here because of this fight over banned books?
So one of the in this lawsuit, one of the pieces of evidence that was that they came across in discovery was an email, rather a text message from somebody on the advisory board to another person that said essentially the judge, the county executive, says he'll shut down the libraries rather than let this porn back onto the shelves for kids to have access to. No
people couldn't see your air quotes around porn, but you were air quoting porn.
We don't know that there's actually anything that most people would judge as pornography in any of these books.
Well, that's a point that this now former librarian was making in this exclusive interview with our team, as she detailed, frankly, Aaron, what it was like for her having worked there under pressure. She says getting harassed and attacked.
Yeah, she and I had a nice long conversation today to talk about her time working at the library, 3 years as an employee at this library in a place where she grew up. This was her library as a child.
Wow.
And she said, you know, she would leave there carrying armful of books every time she would go there as a child. And now she's in a place where she had to resign in the fall because people were coming in, she said, with overwhelming negativity and accusations about what she was doing in this library. I want to play a little bit of what she said to us earlier today.
People saying that I wasn't a safe person for you to bring your kids around. People saying that I was encouraging your kids to check out inappropriate books. Even so far as, like, I had heard people saying that I was a pedophile, I was grooming kids, just really negative things that didn't represent my whole purpose for working at the library to begin with.
So Tina says she's going to go to this meeting tomorrow. She does not plan to speak. She says the issue is just too emotional for her, but she wants to be there to see whatever happens tomorrow afternoon.
One of the pieces of this, right? I mean, this is happening in Llano County, Texas. It is also part of a broader national conversation and issue that people are having, I think, in lots of places around the country over what's appropriate, what say parents should have versus, let's say, librarians or teachers. I mean, this fits into a bigger so-called culture war issue.
Yeah, it really does. We've been looking at and hearing about these book bans in different places around the country for a couple of years now, really. And we particularly looked at some data from PEN America. It's an organization that supports literary and free expression, and they track book bans, school library book bans in particular. So you're looking at a map here in 21-22, that school year. There were 2,500 book bans impacting about 1,600 different titles. You see there primarily Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, some of the places where we see most of the book bans in that particular school year. And we talked to the folks at PEN America about the growth in these bans. Listen.
Unfortunately, what we're seeing is that what started as a conversation, or at least a movement attacking public schools, has in many states now become about public libraries.
And we should mention, too, Hallie, that we did reach out to the county executive there, the county judge, and some other folks who are defendants in this case, and they didn't return our calls.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, but we'll be watching the meeting tomorrow.
We sure will. We'll have you back. Let's book you now. Thank you, Aaron Gilchrist. Good to see you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.